Welcome back to FreightWaves today. We've had an awesome show thus far. It's been some great conversations, and we have one coming up right now because trailer leasing is at an inflection point. Rates are recovering, tariffs reshaping equipment and economics, technology expectations are rising, and Ari Silkey is the Chief Operating Officer of TEN, the Transportation Equipment Network, the largest full-service trailer leaser in North America. He joined TEN to modernize fleet operations through technology, AI, and elevated service delivery. And with that, Ari Silkey, welcome to FreightWaves today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope the week is off to a great start and that the weekend was fantastic.
It was. Thank you.
Absolutely. So for viewers who don't know you, walk us through who you are, what you do at TEN, and why does it matter so much?
Yeah. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Transportation Equipment Network, or TEN. I've just joined the company this month, so only a few weeks into the role, but super excited about where this business is going and where we can take it in the future. So as you mentioned, the largest full-service trailer leasing company in North America. We have north of 80,000 trailers under management, and also uniquely have 45 in-house maintenance bays where we do repairs on both our own trailers and on other people's trailers. Also have a mobile maintenance operation, over 130 trucks that go around to different yards and different sites to keep uptime high on trailers throughout all of our customers.
That's amazing. Maintenance is certainly, an ongoing issue, and retaining and keeping shop and maintenance employees is hard. I think it's hard at carriers. I mean, you've had to recruit, I'm sure, for those sorts of things as well. So how do you guys go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're definitely a growing organization and growing our existing shops and adding new shops over time based on customer needs in different geographies or just in different markets and types of repairs that are necessary. I think recruiting is always challenging in almost every industry I've been involved with. Maintenance techs is no different. But if you offer a great work experience, competitive pay and benefits, and are able to make a big impact, and I think in transportation, we've definitely been through lots of different ups and downs, but appears to be a nice growth cycle going forward. And so I think we've got pretty good excitement and momentum, and people are coming to work here.
So when it comes to this industry, there's stuff that has been historically underinvested in, and I could be here all day with you, Ari, to talk through it. But what do you think has been most historically underinvested in, and why is this now such a competitive opportunity, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think different things get different levels of investment at different times in a company's history, also different times. Different market conditions can drive some of that. And so assets such as trailers, same is true for other kind of transportation assets, tend to get an outsized investment when market conditions are growing, and then inversely a less investment when market conditions are quieter. So I think the trailers have gone through that cycle, and all transportation companies and all shippers know that customers need on-time delivery. And in order to deliver an on-time delivery in any transportation network serving any shipper, your assets have to have tremendously good uptime. There's just not enough time in almost anyone's transportation network to have significant downtime without material customer impact. And as shipment delivery times continue to improve and increase over time, the appetite for downtime is diminishing if there was any before. And so having the ability to fix assets as quickly as possible is critical. There's no, quote, silver bullet to prevent a flat tire from happening. There's things you can do to mitigate it, but equipment breakdowns will happen even on the newest fleets. But making sure that you can respond to them, that you have a fleet that has fantastic maintenance records, even more than maybe required by the federal government, as well as the ability to quickly react when a maintenance event happens to get assets back on the road quickly and serve customers and ensure on-time delivery is really important. And investing in that fleet is critical, I think, for any transportation network. And part of TEN's role is to provide a leading edge fleet that can deliver on that promise statement.
So really a lot of that and maximizing uptime boils down to operational excellence. What does that mean to you?
Yes. To me, that means every trailer, every load, every day delivers on that promise and that value proposition, that they are being delivered to the customer in pristine condition, that they are getting the maintenance that they need throughout their life cycle, and that it's being put in the right use case, whether it's a dry van or refrigerated. We also have flatbed trailers. We have part of our fleet is a very new fleet designed for heavy mileage over the road. Part of our fleet is an older fleet designed for storage that you may have in your yard. And so putting the right asset in the right condition in the hands of the customer that needs it for that use case is our job at TEN. And that's kind of our promise and value proposition to the customer to serve on their needs of their downstream customers.
Ari, it's been a hard and challenging last few years for a lot of organizations within supply chain. And, with this, quote unquote, there's been a freight recession. Now, how does this shape what you're currently building right now at TEN, given everything that we've just been through?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Changes in market dynamics are not new. They're going to shift up and down. And I think components of the value proposition downstream, such as assets, can help companies, carriers, and shippers work through those market dynamics. And so, private fleets will often have a hard decision whether they should buy, rent, or lease a particular asset, including the trailer component of it. One of our roles to play is to be that a trailer leasing company that can give the asset to the transportation company, serving the shipper in a cost-effective way that allows them not to tie up a tremendous amount of their own capital and still have a business model that works for them. And so we are a well-capitalized company. We're able to provide products and assets at competitive costs, able to bring in new assets to our fleet to serve all the needs of our customers. And we can take some of that burden actually away from the carrier that would previously, in an industry situation, maybe of deploying CapEx to serve that need. And so especially as market conditions change and there can be a growth in the market coming forward, the ability to scale quickly and put those assets put in place, perhaps ahead of deploying capital, can be a really interesting play to rent or lease with a company like TEN.
So speaking of renting or leasing, tariffs obviously have had a big impact on the equipment market and trailers as a whole. We did a story in the last couple of weeks about the request for duties to be charged on incoming partially or completed trailers versus those manufactured in the US. So how does that change the buy versus lease decision, and how does your organization play into that?
Yeah, no, great question. I think obviously plenty of moving dynamics in that space, but the higher the total cost of the trailer, regardless of the reason why, whether it's the price of steel or tariffs or other components of that, the harder it becomes for the smaller and even mid-size transportation providers to kind of stomach that, which again can limit growth. If you're not able to get enough assets, you're not able to take the growth of the loads that maybe your customers, your shippers are asking you for, and therefore you don't grow as much. And I think we have a really competitive offering, whether it's a short-term rental that we want to utilize one of our trailer assets for, or more of a long-term lease play where we're taking the burden of that capital by procuring that asset or borrowing you, or leasing you, or renting one of our assets that allows you to take the capital that you have and invest in other parts of your business. And so I think many companies, both large and small, have found that to be a really beneficial business model and one we continue to expand, grow, and provide different types of operations and offerings to customers based on their needs.
Now, Ari, this is an ever-changing landscape, and I'd like for you to answer this one because technology expectations, of course, are rising fast all across the board, whether internally, externally. My question is, what should fleet operators actually be demanding from a leasing partner right now?
Yeah, this one I'm happy to answer, and I feel strongly about it. I think what we're seeing in the transportation industry is the beginnings of a shift from what I would call a reactive use of technology and maintenance expense, shifting to a proactive one. So what I mean by that, I think general tracking of assets in the transportation industry is pretty ubiquitous. It's pretty wide scale, and you know where your trailers are, and you can locate them if you need to. I think going forward, you're going to see a shift from simple tracking to additional diagnostics that you have on trailers, and many fleets, private fleets, have this today, where you can see what's happening, whether that's tire pressure sensors or cargo sensors, cameras inside of a trailer. That type of technology, I think, will become the standard in the future. And what that allows shippers to do, again, small and large shippers, is to have better visibility of what's happening to that asset from a repair maintenance component. So you can move towards predictive maintenance and understand what's happening to that trailer ahead of when it actually breaks down. Nobody wants to break down. It's the most expensive thing. A repair on the side of the road is a bad experience for the driver, for the owner of the fleet, for the leaser, and for the shipper. And so that should be prevented wherever it can. And when you can look at indicators, whether it's a slow leak on a tire or other components, brakes wearing down, or things that can give you signals into what may be coming or likely coming in the future, you take preventive and proactive movements against those activities, you actually will save money in the ecosystem and create a better experience. And so I think there's still an evolution happening in the industry in this space. I think the role of the leaser as TEN is to help our customers along that journey and either advise or provide a lot of that technology going forward to create that ideal experience for the carrier and then ultimately for the shipper and the end customer of the goods inside that trailer.
So shifting from technology to operations, what do you think is the biggest operational gap in trailer leasing currently?
Yeah, I look at it kind of from the customer backwards, and the customer simply wants the package at the front door on time. And then if you look at what components are required to deliver on that, every trailer needs to do its job every day. In order to do its job, it needs to have high uptime. And in order to achieve that high uptime, you need to have high operational excellence. So that comes down to proper inspections. It comes down to, in some cases, random audits. Tied to the earlier point on predictive maintenance of what's going to fail next, to ensure that the asset being used in the field is as of high quality as possible so that you can deliver on that end customer promise of getting that package or good or whatever is being moved to that end customer as scheduled. And so there's a lot that goes into that, and it takes a tremendous amount of operational rigor across the supply chain to actually deliver on that. And many companies are delivering on that, in very shorter windows than have been done in the past. And so there's limited room in the schedule for a recovery or a failure. And so you have to respond very fast if there is a failure. But the better answer is to predictively anticipate the failure, get ahead of it, and ensure it never happens.
Ari, a lot of folks say that they're quote unquote full service, specifically a full service leaser. But what does this actually mean in real practice? And why should a fleet operator actually care about this?
Yeah, absolutely. There's multiple different models you can use in kind of the rent and lease space. There's one model where you take the asset, you take it for a period of time, months or years, and you're responsible for all the maintenance and upkeep and PMs, et cetera, on that asset. We also offer that solution, but I think the way many of our customers are going is a full service lease offering where we handle all of that maintenance and ensure that you do have the experience and uptime you want, doing the maintenance ourselves, scheduling all of the PMs and handling to ensure the uptime of that trailer is full circle and full life cycle of that trailer. So there should be no downtime in that process, and there's no third party, there's no maintenance provider you have to call, there's no breakdown provider you have. We handle all components of the life of that trailer when you have it under our lease and operation. And so part of that is us continue to expand our network of shops and in some cases mobile trucks to make sure we can be as many places as possible to offer that service across wherever our customers have transportation. But I see a lot of growth in that area, and I think from an end customer and carrier and shipper perspective, it's a model that's going to be that's really resonating.
So Ari, you mentioned in the very beginning of the interview that you just joined TEN about a month ago. So where did you start? What's next? What are you fixing? What are you seeing since you've been at the organization and putting your leadership into practice?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know it's been a fun first 3 weeks here. I'm learning a ton. I'm meeting with all kinds of members of my team in both the U.S. and Canada. I visited a bunch of shops already and met with some of our mechanics. Looked underneath some trailers and trying to understand kind of where are our strongest attributes and what's really working well for the organization. And there's quite a bit there. And then also seeing what the opportunities are in kind of scaling and growing this business to a really large scale operation. And it's not small right now. It's already over 80,000 trailers, but we do anticipate quite a bit of growth going forward, both in geographic footprint. We are mostly kind of east of the Mississippi today and throughout all of Canada, as well as density in scaling up our operations where customers need us most. And then also on our mobile truck side, that's really resonated with customers who will put a mobile tech maybe at or near a yard where there's a large fleet where we can be very efficient in our maintenance operations. So I'm kind of using a bit of the standard playbook of understanding our customers, understanding our employees, and seeing where the strongest, where we should double down, and some opportunities where we get more efficient to position for our next phase of growth, and then injecting likely a fair amount of technology along the way.
Ari, I like this question. I use it often on What the Truck, another podcast. So I want to pose it to you here. Over the next 365 days, you are successful in your role if, and fill in the blank for me. What is that?
That's easy. I'm successful if my customers are happy. And my customers will be happy if I'm delivering on a solution that allows them to be successful. Everyone has a customer downstream. And so I think the biggest way that we can make our customers, quote, happy and allow them to scale on their business is have assets available when they need it, have them in the shape and condition that they need to be to have high uptime for their fleet, and be able to scale and grow with them and be flexible and agile to meet their needs as they grow throughout their businesses as the freight market goes through its dynamics. I think a year from now, I suspect we'll be a larger company, a fair amount more technology driven, with pristine standard work kind of end to end, and a larger footprint overall.
So I love this conversation because I like talking about trailers. I think it's something that carriers, shippers, anyone who has this expense doesn't talk about as much, right? They don't cost as much as a truck,
Definitely.
but there is a huge cost involved in them, and they are an asset that you're tracking and need to put revenue on, or pay for if you're leasing, right? And ensure that you're providing that service to your customer. So I love how you talked about different trailers for different types of business, right? And when I was in dedicated, we would look at that. All right, how many miles are we actually going to put on this trailer? Is it primarily going to be storage? And in that case, we aren't going to have as much of a maintenance expense versus to your earlier point, long haul over the road. So do you guys walk through all of that with your customers? How does that implementation and onboarding or initial conversation happen and work to truly understand the scope of what they're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's super important. You want to put the right asset in the right place at the right time. And the cost of a reefer trailer is very different than the cost of a storage trailer for obvious reasons. So you kind of, to the earlier comments on the webinar here on growth of reefer trailers, definitely seeing that on our side as well. And so you've got the dry van versus reefer, which is kind of easy delineation based on what's being hauled. Similarly, flatbed can be a component of that. I think the more nuanced one, which you touched on, is how do you best assign the vintage of the trailer to the right use case, aka you don't want to take a brand new trailer and then use it for storage in your yard. That would not be the best ROI. You want to take the newest trailer and put it over the road, and you want to take your more aged trailers and maybe use them for lower miles because they're at a different spot in their lifespan. And so, yes, it's absolutely open discussion with our customers on the whole spectrum of different options that we have in the TEN umbrella, and what's the best fit for their use case. Because again, if they're happy, we're happy.
So I always want to talk about the market and the impact it has on all of our guests and let our viewers learn from that as well. So current market, relatively tight capacity. I would love your take on it. And then how does it impact your business?
Yeah, I think market has ups and downs. Obviously, we're in a bit of a tight capacity situation at this particular moment in time, and it'll continue to ebb and flow. I think we're hopefully a solution, in most cases, a solution in up and down markets. I think we can offset capital expense in both up and down markets, which there's a use case for both of them. But I think more importantly, in an up market where things are constrained, we can inject capacity, and we can inject capacity without outlaying CapEx for a growing transportation provider. And so I think it's a super exciting time for us here in 2026 with the current market conditions. And we are seeing this across our network of customers asking for more and more capacity. In some cases, very short notice, which is challenging but doable. And that's exactly our job and our opportunity to get them the right asset and the right type of equipment that they need, so that as their customers, give them opportunities, they can go deliver on them. So I'm pretty excited about where the market's going and the impact it's going to have on TEN.
That makes perfect sense. I would
Absolutely.
want to, in this current freight environment, take advantage of the rates, drive as much utility as possible. Having trailers available to do that and working trailers available to do that is absolutely a key to that. So thank you so much for your time today. This has been a great conversation. Really, really appreciate it and hope to speak with you soon.